everybody, and happy Mental Health Monday. So today I am talking about two of my favorite things, journaling and meditation, but I'm talking about them in tandem in the context of a new exercise that I have started to do. So if you haven't heard of Gabby Bernstein before, she's a fantastic self-help guru, and I came across her at some point after I was diagnosed when I was looking for support in dealing with trauma and emotional upheaval and just mental health and emotional health support in general. And she has too many resources, too many books, too many meditations to name, but she has also just started a brand new podcast called Dear Gabby. She was talking about I don't believe she came up with this technique, but she named it. And so she calls it Rage on the Page. And basically what you do is you set a timer for however many minutes you have, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, some is better than none. So you set a timer for however much time you have, and then you just start writing. Now, in the context of how she does it, it's to rage on the page. So you just write about whatever is bothering you, whatever is frustrating you, whatever is making you angry or upset or anxious or stressed. You just kind of rage it all out on the page. I found that in doing this exercise myself, I don't always have something to rage about. So I've started adapting it a little bit, and I'll get into that. But after you've finished journaling for the amount of time that you have to journal for, it's just free flowing, whatever comes out. Don't try to change or control or alter what comes out, just let it flow. And then you set a timer, again, reset it for the same amount of time, and you meditate for that same amount of time. And so the two things together are really lovely, because they kind of work synergistically together. Journaling in that way helps you clear out what's going on with you internally and makes room for something bigger and better and even more positive to take its place. So when you make all that space by just kind of downloading into your journal, and then you can meditate right after and start bringing in those positive feelings and that connection to the universe, that energy, to fill up that space. And this is something you can do really anytime at all, but the more you do it, the more days in a row you do it, the more you'll start to notice the effects. And it's a really great practice to take on if you have something that you know you need to clear out, like emotional traumas or stress and anxiety around cancer. Any time you feel those negative emotions, those stressors, the anger, the frustration, anytime you feel that stuff bubbling up, it's a really great exercise to put into practice. Now, I said before that I kind of alter it or have adapted it a bit to my own needs, because I don't always feel like I have something to necessarily rage about, but I definitely always have something that I can release. So it doesn't always need to be coming from a place of negativity. It can just be something that you feel you're done with, that you need to release in some way. And so writing it down and reflecting on it, whether that was an event that happened or something someone said, something you said, or, just a time of transition. If you are transitioning into life after cancer, on a smaller scale, if you've, you're switching jobs, something like that. After COVID, transitioning back into life after COVID. Hopefully that will be soon. So times of transition are a really great time to use it as well, because it helps you clear out the old and make way for the new. So just because, Gabby titled it Rage on the Page doesn't mean that that's how it has to always be, or how it may not feel that way for you. Be like a raging, and that's totally fine. It's just about, as I said, releasing and making room for new and even better stuff. So that's the journal writing section of it, and how I, have just adapted it a bit or think about it a bit differently. And then with the meditation section, you are perfectly free to just meditate if you are able to get to that place where you can quiet your mind just by focusing on your breath or whatever else. But I love mantra meditation. It's other than doing guided meditations, which I do quite often, mantra meditation is my absolute favorite because it allows me to focus much more easily. I like to focus on the sound of my breath in and out. I do that ujjayi, the ocean breath, where you can you put your tongue towards the back of your throat and you create that kind of rushing ocean sound. I focus on that sound. But I also love having mantras because it not only gives you sort of a focus for the meditation in terms of energy and emotion, but it also, for me, as I said, makes it easier to concentrate and easier to focus because it gives me something to focus on. So when my mind starts wandering and thinking about other things, I can notice and bring it back to the words. And my mind is much less likely to wander if it's like, oh, I need to say these words over and over. I'm just focusing on saying these words. Then it is much less likely to get distracted and start thinking about other things. Because the minute I don't have something that I'm actively thinking about, my brain starts being like, okay, well, what's next? What do we got to do? What's after this? So having that mantra really helps to focus me for the meditation session. So in combination with the journal writing, what I've started to do for this exercise is I'll pick out one sentence or one statement that I wrote during my journal writing portion of the exercise, and that will become my mantra for the session. And by saying meditate on what you wrote down, it can really be anything. You can just let what emotions it brought up, or you can let random words that came out. You can just let those run through your mind while you meditate. But as I said, I really like to have a mantra, one to focus on. And so this is a really wonderful way for me to incorporate mantra meditation with the journal writing portion of the exercise. It's really neat. So if you likewise love mantra meditation, you can try this out with your own Rage on the Page journal writing and meditation exercise. So just as an example, before we wrap up, this is my Rage on the Page journal, and I got a new journal for this specifically because there is a lot of energy and that these thoughts and these feelings that accompany these thoughts and these feelings. And because it often is stuff that you're trying to release, most of the time it's stuff that you probably are feeling negatively about. And so that sort of negative energy, I feel like, gets attached to the journal as well. And so I don't want to have a journal where I'm doing other journal writing or other notes and things like that. I don't want to have that sort of energy, the energy of my raging on the page. I don't want to have that energy attached to my other journal writing. So I have a specific journal that's just for Rage on the Page. So if you feel the same way, you're welcome to do that. But of course, you can also just, use your existing journal too. So just as an example for what I mean by pulling out a mantra, last week I put a lot of pressure on myself to get things done, and I realized that when I'm doing one thing, even if it's what I want to be doing or should be doing in that moment, my brain is already thinking ahead to the next thing that I need to do and making me feel bad and guilty and pressured that I haven't finished this current task yet so I can move on to the next. And so then when I finally do move on to that next task, the cycle repeats. I start stressing and pressuring myself about getting to the next thing on the list. And so what I realize is that I'm not letting myself just be in the moment and enjoy the task that I'm currently doing because I'm constantly worrying about the next one. So in this, that's what I was journaling about, raging on the paging about in this day. And one of the things that I wrote right at the end was, I am letting go and getting out of the way. And so that is what ended up being my mantra. I'm choosing to let go and get out of the way. And so that was my mantra for the meditation portion. So that's just an example of what I mean by, pulling out a sentence from what you had written. So I highly, highly suggest that you give this exercise a try, especially, as I said, if you're in a time of transition or there's something you need to let go, or you're wanting to create something, if there's art you want to create, a book you want to write, you need to kind of let go of what's inside of you right now so you can make room for that creative space or that creative energy to come through. That's another great time to do it. So absolutely, give it a try. I have absolutely fallen in love with it, and I hope that you do too. I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful rest of your Monday as always, and we will see you back here next week for our next Mental Health Monday. Bye guys, and happy healing.